Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. I keep saying that because I keep thinking it's Saturday, with it being a full 3 o'clock programme this afternoon. But it's definitely Sunday. And big news, hot off the press, we have a sponsor for tonight's show. So tonight's show is brought to you, no wonder, idrink.com. As for reasons that I'm sure are absolutely obvious to all of you. But first, let me introduce my panel tonight. First of all, bottom right of your screen, Harry Scarf. A lot of you will know young Harry. Now a proper grown-up. He was 16 on Boxing Day, I think it was. So Harry has his own channel. I know a lot of you will know it. Welcome to your first time on my show, Harry.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Bottom left, he's just disappearing. Spilkes, I think, is the Jewish word for it. A very old friend of mine, a bit like Jem Silverstone. Big Ange fan. Paul Kramer.
I'm nothing like Jem Silverstone. He could sue you for that.
That's okay. Good evening, Paul.
Good evening, panel.
Top left-hand corner, I'm sure you'll know, fellow owner and founder Adrian Stoker. So without further ado, let's talk about the starting 11. There's always controversy. I don't think Ange can do anything without it causing a stooshy everywhere. But Harry, let's start with you. What was your impression of that team? Was it what you were expecting?
Yeah, pretty much. And I was very happy with it. It was more hoping that Dragusin would make it. He did. So that was good. But everything I think that we as fans would have expected. Myself personally, great to see Bentancur in there. Obviously, second game back from his ban. And, Johnson back in, someone who's got a lot of energy in the tank, ready to go. Hasn't played many minutes recently. Sarr, no surprise, he's not in there. He looks, absolutely knackered in the last game against Forest. So I think a rest for him was much needed. So all happy with the team. No complaints. That team on paper, isn't bad and should be enough to get past Wolves. It's better than we've seen in recent weeks with players returning. But obviously we know it didn't happen. So that's what we're getting to.
Paul?
Well, when you think what the starting lineup could have been, Vicario, Spence, Davies, Romero, Van der Ven, Maddison, Bergvall, Sarr, Odegaard, Richarlison, and more, I think our patched-up team did quite well.
Okay. Adrian, your view on the starting 11?
Yeah, I was having discussions with some mates at the stadium about this, and it was, the team looked fine up there. When they're discussing Maddison, all that, we don't really know how many are being left out just for sheer tiredness. This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's tiredness in the injury or carrying knocks, and basically the squad that's even been rotated is knackered, in my opinion. It showed, I thought, today. I'm sure we'll get into it.
Absolutely.
Glad to see Dragusin there. I'm sure we'll talk about him as well, like Gray. Although, I think Dorrington deserves a chance, and we may talk about it later. Because if your Doggio's got this hamstring injury, I'm sure we're going to need a left back, and Dorrington can play there. But back to you, Ian. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got it. There's a number of you watching. Haven't got that many comments in the chat so far. So if you're on, let us know, say hi, and we can say hi back. But Graham, Spurs GCTV,
the regular friend of the show.
I hope you've scored well this week, Graham, so far, because I'm in double figures already, just to give you a sleepless night. And Queen Ellie, one of our co-owners. Good evening to you, Ellie.
Hope you're feeling better, Ellie.
Let's start with the early goal, because the early goal was oh my God, here we go again. Harry, I mean, Chan, 6 minutes, good finish, but my impression, and I've obviously get to watch it a few times on TV, it was a really good training ground routine, including the foul on Johnson. Did you get a look at that, the way he was blocked going to the ball?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and as you said, really well worked. Obviously, haven't had long, have they, under Victor Pereira? Only 2 games before this, so it would have been many training sessions. But in those few training sessions, they clearly worked very well on the free kicks, and it was very well executed. And yeah, I need to see it back whether I think it was a foul or not. But it's a very clever and deliberate block of Johnson. So yeah, no, it was a really nice set piece and an excellent finish from Chan, because that takes a lot. First time, good finish without much thought. But from a Spurs point of view, I think that's quite poor to afford him that time and space. Whatever players you do have available, that's just common sense. You look around you, who's available. You don't want players being unmarked. Your opposition. So it was quite poor from us. A bit of a gift, but superbly executed by Wolves. When you're a team down the bottom like that, you've got to be taking advantage of your set pieces. This is exactly what they've done, and that could be the difference maker in them staying up. So, superb set piece from them.
Yeah. Paul, if I bring you in on that, you can maybe want to follow up what Harry's saying. But to add to that, we don't seem to be having any of those set piece routines, staged routines that have obviously been worked on like they did.
I think we scored from a corner today.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking like a choreographed play. I haven't seen us do one of them in a long while.
I thought our second goal was a very nice team move. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm talking about free kicks specifically. But
free kicks, I mean, who was on the pitch at the time? Maddison should take all the free kicks. We've had 5 years of Harry Kane missing free kicks, and now now Sonny takes them mostly.
Did you think it was a foul?
For what?
Johnson was blocked.
No, that's part of the game. He should know better than to get caught out like that.
Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, I'm down the other end of the pitch. It definitely looked to sit the guy next to me. That looks like a training routine to me. You don't know. It could have been lucky. We don't know for sure, but does it matter? We've played them. It doesn't really matter. But on the bit of the other thing, I tell you what, Porro taking them corners with the outswingers, he did a couple of those. Now, I think that has been worked on, because every time we try and curl a ball into the box or the far post, it's very hard to find that sort of space. And that's what this used to. When I thought that, it reminded me a bit, I hate to say it, of Liam Brady, because he used to curl them balls outside away from the keeper. So yeah, I'm sure you'll get onto it. Yeah, but no, it was a well worked free kick, and we thought, oh no, here we go again. You're in the stadium, but we had started quite brightly. I mean, we were definitely. I'm sure we get into it. We were better in the first half than the second.
Sure, yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk about the fatigue as well. Hi, Kev, a good mate of Paul and I's, zookeeper Tom's daddy. He's putting your granddaughter to bed. So he said he'd be a little bit late, Kev. So nothing wrong. Just he'll be here soon. Choreograph. When we have a free kick, our routine is to knock it backwards. I'll probably agree with that. But Adrian, then let's bring you back in straight away on this, because you're absolutely bang on. And rather than Son taking it or Son with Kulusevski and bunging it in underneath the crossbar, it was a deliberate ploy with right foot away from goal, picks out Benty 1-1.
Yeah. And even if you don't score from those sort of situations, you've got a chance of getting ahead in it. And you'd like to see more crosses into the box in a more effective area, because there's always a chance a defender misheads it and you get a second bite at the cherry. We don't even try that a lot of times upfield in open play. Frightened to put a cross in, all right, your stats are going to look bad if you lose the ball or something. But we've all seen defenders. I mean, there were a lot of headers in that game up in the air, and when it happened, it sort of put it all in the mix. Yeah, put it in the mix. Put it in the mix. You might get a break. I know we haven't had any breaks lately, but I mean, we might get a break playing that way. And no, it was a lovely corner, good header. I just wish that Bentancur, who still doesn't look fresh like many other players, could have had the same effect with his game today.
Paul, good, well worked free kick.
Corner.
Yeah. The equaliser.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It was. I mean, we haven't scored that many goals from a corner this season. Maybe 2 or 3. I thought it was a clear header from Bentancur.
Harry? Well worked goal.
Yeah, it was definitely. It was not the start to the game we wanted, but corner, nothing necessarily special about it. It's just Bentancur's more aggressive than the rest, does very well, and as the guys have said, very clean header to get there. So it's a bit of cleverness from Bentancur, break away from his man, as I said, really aggressive in the box, and it's a really nice header. So yeah, exactly what we wanted. Wolves not leading for long, so it's a good response from us and a good individual piece from Bentancur.
A couple of people in the chat. Early doors football. I don't know who. Do I know who early doors football is?
Yeah, he's a friend of the show.
Okay, sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, West Ham
Have
fan.
you got a proper name or?
I'm not sure about his name.
All right, I'll call you Steve just for. Good evening, anyway.
How did West Ham get on today, by the way?
5-0 they lost.
They lost badly.
Yeah. There you go. I think Mark has got his views. Tony, hi Tony. Thanks for that.
Tony, like Tony.
I'll make sure I remember that. Okay. Moment of absolute farce, Paul. Bentancur and Solanke, one of them's got to put it in the net, and they tackle each other like playing in the park, public park, when we were 10 years old.
I'm looking forward to this evening's match of the day, too good or too bad, because that will definitely be featured. I mean, that was one of the funniest things I've seen for a long time. And how can you say we're not being entertained when you see slapstick comedy like that brought to us by our forwards and midfield players crashing into each other? I'm surprised the penalty wasn't given against him up the other end for that. It was so bad.
Harry, you're younger than a lot of us by
50 years.
So maybe if you've played a bit, you might remember being taught when you were 7 or 8 years old to pull for the ball if you had the better position.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That was one of the first things you told. I think don't pass out. Well, don't play it across your goal line, and don't make sure you call out for it. Were the first 2 things. And I think at Spurs we don't really follow either of them. But no, this is quite a funny moment, really. In the game where just a good opportunity. But it's funny because it was offside. It didn't mean anything. So I think you have to look at the funny side of it. I mean, it's very easy to get hooked up into, he should call for it. He should take it. As Paul said, it's just a funny moment. They come together and it'd be funny to see on Match Day later. Shouldn't read too much into it.
It made a change from Werner, who normally provides all the laughs.
Well,
inadvertently, but it's nice of spreading that around.
Adrian, let's bring you in. 42 minutes penalty. First, it would have been close, would have been well in front of you that move, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
close to Tom, where Tom and Kev sit as well. I keep forgetting they turned us round. What did you think of the award?
Well, when you've got players that are running side by side, and bear in mind, I'm directly in line with the byline anyway. My seat high up in the 5th.
Yeah,
I mean, it's hard to judge it. The ref calls it. The crowd are always going to call for it when a player goes down in the box. You're going to get your partisan support, try and get you a penalty, and then the ref give it. I mean, I haven't watched the highlights back. I remember the penalty and Son struck it, but I'm seeing it side view on. So, I mean, on penalties himself, whenever I've spoken to goalkeepers in the past, I mean, the one shots they hate, and this baffles me with all teams, actually. You hit the ball low and hard. Keeper's got to get down. Don't hit it in the air when he's got a chance to punch it away or higher, or you might go over the bar. If I was a manager at Spurs, I said, we take penalties low and hard. If you can't take one low and hard, you don't take the penalties. Yeah. And because that keeper's got to get down, you will beat a keeper most times, right? If you hit it low and hard. Because a lot of the time, now you notice they are moving on the spot, sort of jumping up and down, trying to put the striker off, right? They're not, is Tom. You're not getting down to that. You're not getting down to that ball if it's hit low and hard. So,
Yeah.
and like Son, he's not been, his stats are okay for this season, but he hasn't been in the greatest form. He's blasted a couple over the bar in games and all that. And he's getting a lot of stick. But actually, I mean, like in 16 Premier League games, he's got 5 goals and 6 assists, right? So that's 11 returns in 16 league games. That's not bad, but you know what our fan base is like.
Yeah. Good evening, Zookeeper Tom. Bottom left
Evening,
of your
Tom.
screens as you're watching. Top
Hello.
right is, Paul, obviously.
Yeah,
Probably-
no, Paul.
No, you'd have bought him a few ciders. He's probably never bought you a drink, but don't think I haven't logged it. And top right is Harry, who you may
Harry.
not have worked with. I don't know if you do.
Hi, you're right.
Tom on the bottom left. I'll bring you in then, Tom. We're talking because you'd have had a really good view, assuming you were in your normal seat, of the foul on Johnson. I mean, did you have any thoughts of the award when it was made?
In real time, I thought it was a Stonewall penalty, but what I would say is that Johnson bought it, and the exact words I used to my dad next to me was that was like watching Jamie Vardy. It was classic step across the man as they're making the challenge to win yourself a penalty, and it was literally. I don't think it. Seeing replays, Stonewall is probably a bit friendly, but he's done a really good job at stepping across his man to invite the contact, and he's gone down on the contact. And there's been a few times this season where, okay, it's not maybe the nicest way to play the game, but there's a few times this season where I've seen our players run into the box past a player, get a contact, and they've been too honest and stayed on their feet when we could have. When they could have gone down and got themselves a penalty. Not that, obviously, getting the penalty today really made a difference, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Paul, bringing you in on this, I commented, Tom, before you came on. I mean, I thought that Johnson was blocked in a sort of a choreographed move, that the blocking the runner was part of the strategy. And it was probably an infringement, but not one you'd overturn. I mean, I think the point is, Johnson bought the penalty, put his leg, as Tom says, put his foot across the defender, so the defender's got nowhere to go, brings him down, but not one a referee should be overturning. A bit soft, but not one that should be overturned.
I don't think we would have got that penalty if it had been away from home for a start. That was a real homer penalty. And that's our first penalty in over 30 hours of football in the league this season. So, I mean, you would never have been able to tell that by the way it was taken.
It was a dreadful penalty, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the problem, I suppose, is in training, Sonny only has to beat Forster or, the other two, Whiteman and the other guy who we never see.
Austin,
thank you.
Yeah.
Brandon Austin. Yeah, so...
Harry, any comments on the award or on the penalty itself?
I agree with what the guys have said, to be honest with you, that, it's one of them where, because the on-field referees given it, we haven't seen it overturned. There's nothing massive in it. Johnson quite cleverly, I think, wins it. But it's not a great penalty from Son. I do think, though, that the credit does have to go with the Wolves goalkeeper, Jose Sarr, in this situation. I think it's more of a good save than a bad penalty. I'm not saying it's still a good penalty, but it's the goalkeeper that deserves the credit here. He's gone the right way and gets a really strong glove on it. So frustrating, when you don't get those penalties. You haven't got that rub of the green all year, as Paul just said. But when you do, you've got to take them. We didn't in this situation.
It was a really poor penalty, though, I thought. Just exactly the height that any goalkeeper would want.
I think from my perspective, Ian, it's one of those where if it goes in, no one's saying it's a bad penalty because it's only because the keeper's gone the right way. And yes, okay, he's gone the right way, and then it's at a comfortable height. But if the keeper's gone the wrong way and it's tucked into the goes in, and you'll be like, "Oh, well done, good penalty." I think it's very much of a muchness. If it goes in, no one's saying,
Yeah.
"You never say, oh, that was a bad penalty," even though it's gone in. It's.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Sorry,
filled
go on,
with
carry on.
confidence with Sonny, to be fair, because he seemed, the whistle went and he seemed to take about 30, 40 seconds before he even started his run up.
Yeah.
It just didn't fill me with confidence. He
Yeah,
doesn't look
no.
like a confident player at the moment, Sonny. He looks like he's struggling physically and mentally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I want to discuss Sonny later in the show. Harry, hopefully we'll get to it before I know you have to disappear. But can I say hi to a couple more people in the chat? David Clark, all I heard from the commentators all day was Son dispossessed, Johnson dispossessed, Kulu dispossessed, Lightweight as our player's middle name, and Dragerson can't pass with. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why we signed Dragerson, because I don't think he's an Ange player. He can't play out from the back. And then David again. As for Werner Ayer's shot, well, that's probably okay. Mark says Son isn't Harry Kane at penalties. Well, I think that's a fair comment. Ben's in the chat. Good evening, Benjamin. I hope you're well. Ange is the worst manager in my lifetime. You're not old enough to remember Terry Neal. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
If you ever watched us play under Terry Neal, you would think Ange was an absolute revelation. But anyway, Son is
George
done.
Graham comes to mind as well.
Say that again.
George Graham.
George Graham. Well, he won the League Cup, my friend. He did win the League Cup.
So did one day Ramos.
Poor Pep. But let's go on to positive moments. We go in at half-time 2-1 up. Johnson finished. Great work by Decky, as ever.
Yeah.
The one bright light in our team at the moment. Paul, let's bring you in. You'd have had a good view of that, I suspect. Good goal?
Johnson.
Yeah, 2-1. Yeah.
Great goal. I mean, that's what he's good at, when he doesn't have time to think. It was a lovely laid-back ball from Kulusevski, and he took it very well, Johnson. But I expect him to score those goals. And, you know, the fact we went in at 2-1 up at half-time was much better than our normal results against Wolves. Last season, back in February, we were 1-0 down at half-time and went on to lose 2-1. So I think a point against Wolves is a fair result. I'm happy with it. But, yeah, the goal was good.
Yeah. And Harry, were you at the game? Sorry, I should probably know that.
No, I usually am as a season ticket holder, but I've got to wait in Norfolk for a few days, so I sold tickets for this one.
Right.
I'm back for Newcastle, so I wasn't there.
High six.
No, okay. Lovely goal, though.
Yeah, really nice goal, and I think Johnson, I think had a really good game because he won the penalty, scored the goal. So no, it was really nice from him. I think that we have to give a shout out though to Kulusevski, of course, having a great season and a great performance here, but for his involvement in the goal in particular. Really nice swivel, really nice ball into the box. Just completely fools the Wolf defence. He was the bright spark again today, and I stretch to think where we'd be without him. To be honest with you, I'm just glad that he's here. We've got to retain him. That's what's important. We need to, do what Chelsea do with these massive contracts. We need to pin Kulusevski down, commit him long term because he's just a special player and creates this goal. But Johnson still a lot to do. Nice finish. Great time to score as well.
I mean, Tom, you'd have had a really good view of that goal from the southwest corner where you sit with your dad. I mean, again, talking about Kulusevski's performance. I mean, one of the groups, WhatsApp groups we're a member of, there was actually a poll in. If we got an offer of 100 million for Kulusevski, we should take it. What's your view of that?
Well, I think to us currently he is worth a lot more than 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not he's worth more than 100 million is a completely different question. But to Spurs in this current present moment of time, he is 100% worth way more than 100 million. And there's players that I wouldn't hesitate overselling in this squad at the moment, and there's players that are just must keeps. And he is definitely the player we need to build our team around, 100%. And I mean, his work for that goal was brilliant, and that's the advantage you have with playing Kulusevski through the middle as well, is that he can go both ways. Whereas when he's out on the wing, he's a bit more one-dimensional. What I would say as well for Johnson, I actually think, despite the result, I actually think this is one of Johnson's best games in a Spurs shirt, purely from a work ethic perspective. I've never seen him track back and put challenges in as much as what he did today. There was the odd occasion where he actually tried to run with the ball at his feet as well, which doesn't always happen. And it committed players and won us corners and stuff like that. So yeah, and it was good work, good composed work to play it through to Kulusevski in the first place, and then he positioned himself well to be able to finish. So one of his better games for us, but I would still like to see more from Johnson. I mean, if that was his kind of his standard, putting in that hard work, then that would be great, and we'd see a much better player there. But yeah, Kulusevski, I mean, playing through the middle, he's a different animal.
Adrian, a fair bit for you to get your teeth into there.
Yeah, I mean, good finish. And the thing about Johnson, you see him raise his arm and he's called for the ball for Kulusevski to give him it. And it's a lovely tuck back. And Kulusevski did the hard work. I'm not saying it was an easy finish, but like Kulu did the hard work. And now it's 11 goals he's got this season. He only got 5 last season. And I've actually really warmed him because I didn't want him at the club when I see videos of him. I've got to be honest, right? But I think the starting point was that Coventry away game in the League Cup when he was under pressure and getting dogs abuse in social media. I hope he doesn't watch social media. I hope no players delve into social media, to be honest with you. And he chipped the keeper, and I thought, I didn't know you had that sort of composed finish in you. And then we see him get a couple of composed finishes from the edge of the penalty area, from one corner of the penalty area into the far corner of the box. I thought, no, you've got that. Then I see him the way. I mean, he missed a chance against Forest away, but he's got much better technique than I thought. That third choice in the game when the Spurs players were screaming for a penalty against Nottingham Forest away, when he dragged it down and got the shot off, I thought, that is good. He is. Now I'm beginning to see why Ange gave him his debut away to Arsenal in that 2-2 draw last season. I think I think he's only going to get better. I really do. And he's got people say, and then you had some fans, that sneer when things are, he's a tap-in merchant. No. You've got to have that awareness, that striker's instinct to get in the boxes and finish. He wouldn't have 11 goals if he was just a tap-in merchant, right? He wouldn't. He's a far better player, and he's looking to be worth what we paid for him.
Yeah. Adrian, whereabouts is your seat?
I am in block 530 in the east stand.
Right at the back.
I'm right up the top, but I'm about the second block in from the south stand. You know what I mean? Where the camera is, because where I am and all around me, they all sing "We Are the Offside" and all that. So you'll get the idea if you go at the games. Yeah. So.
Yeah. About where you sit, Kev says we stand, and I mean. And then Mark says, I never sit in the stand either. Now, why is it we sit in a stand?
Yeah.
How can you sit in a stand? Only the English language can come up with crap like that. But
like you park on a driveway.
Park on a driveway. Yeah.
Why do you get in a car and get on a train?
We could massacre the English language before the end of this show, couldn't we? Let's bring Harry back in. Udogi, I mean, I really should have put another effing hamstring victim. There are some, Harry, that seem to think that the hamstrings are all down to Ange. You have any view on this?
Crikey. Let's be clear. I think Ange gets a lot of unnecessary criticism. So, we've had a lot of injuries, right? And let me just say this now. If it was 100% down to system, down to training, and should have changed it. He doesn't want this situation. Of course he doesn't. Us fans, we don't want this situation with a lot of players out. Of course, this system, the way we play, is there's a little bit of a burden on a hamstring in terms of a high line. It requires that quick transition, that turn of pace, of course. And it's probably escalated the problem. I'm not going to deny that, but I don't think it's the root cause of the problem. I think that we've just been very unlucky this year. I think it is as simple as that. And I don't think looking back, I didn't feel that way at the time, but looking back, I don't think we've done enough in the previous summer window to plan for these situations. I don't think we've done enough for Ange. I think the Spurs fans who went into the season going, what if Van der Ven gets injured? What if Romero gets injured? Both injured, along with the goalkeeper, along with fullbacks, etc. It couldn't have been any worse really with players who had out. But you are, as a club, going to have injury problems, so you've got to look at January. For me, I 100% still behind Ange. What can you do to back this manager? What can you do to get us back to where we want to be? I think that's about adding depth and also players that are capable of playing this system, be able to cope with the back line. Because, like a doggy getting injured today, I don't think the full-backs have covered themselves in glory this year. So maybe they're not good enough. I don't know. But with hamstring injuries, there's been quite a few. But so there has been across the whole of the Premier League this year. Because there's a lot more games. You've got the new European format as well. There's a lot more games. So it's a bigger issue than just a Spurs issue. But it's very easy, isn't it? Spurs fans, they just look at your own club and they put 2 and 2 together. I think that's what it is in this situation. Nothing more than that.
Adrian, let me bring you in. There's a lot of clubs play with this kind of intensity and high line and high press. It's not as if this is something that Andrew suddenly invented. And we played not dissimilarly under Poch.
Exactly that. And I disagree with it down to the high line. So if you look at our players, VDV's the fastest player. The next 3 fastest are actually Johnson, Solanke, believe it or not, and I think Odebert, actually. And you don't see the forwards pulling up with hamstring injuries, right? You don't. And in midfield, we don't pick them. I mean, like your doggies on the left, obviously, but you don't even see it in midfield. When we've had other injuries, it was like, well, Matty Cash did Bentacore, didn't he? Or Banderson got his ankles done. This is a myth. I want to ask you back. He was at Celtic. What was the injury rate at Celtic if this was the case? Did he have many injuries at Celtic again?
Do you might have seen on the chat, Johnny Hammy's been giving me some grief, telling me that there was a crisis of hamstrings at Celtic. Although he's produced a couple of newspaper cuttings, I can't remember Celtic having huge injury problems and players being out for months with hamstring injuries. In his first season, even at this time, Celtic finished 20 points behind Rangers the season before Ange came to the club. And at Christmas, Rangers were 6 points clear of Celtic, and Celtic won that league by 4 points. So he wasn't doing that with an injury-ravaged squad. And if I contacted one of my really good mates who's a dyed-in-the-wool Celtic supporter, and he says, no, he doesn't have any recollection of it. So maybe there was a few, and maybe the Scottish press were bigging up the injuries, but nothing like we've had to suffer here. Nothing.
Tom, do you think it's part of it is rest and recovery as well? Not enough rest and recovery is a contributing factor.
It's 100% scheduling. In terms of there is so much football that's being played at the moment. Like we've had 3 international breaks this season, like in 4 or 5 months, and then obviously the new format of the thing means we've played 6 games already, got another 2 to go. I think for us it feels exacerbated because of where the players play that got injured. Our 2 left backs, or left back and centre back, and it's just, okay, Udogi's unfortunate, but I think a lot of that is down to the fact that he's played almost every single minute of every single game. some of that has to come down to the blame of the squad planning, meaning that Jed Spence couldn't be registered in Europa, which meant that Udogie has been playing every single game in Europa as well as every single game in the Premier League. You could also blame Ange for maybe you should have trusted Jed Spence a bit more in the league to give Udogie that rest. I mean, the fact that, you know, we ended this game with Timo Werner at left wing and Reguilon at left back. Like, Reguilon we've been trying to sell for the last 2 years, and Timo Werner, like, I mean, what are you doing anywhere near a football club? I don't really know, to be honest with you. I mean, that just shows what dire straits we're in. And look, the high intensity is naturally going to possibly put a bit more strain on the muscles, but not as much as playing. Literally, we've had a game Thursday, Sunday since the 1st of December. Like, you know, we've had 3 days rest in between every single game, playing the same sort of 11, 12 players. Like, but in all honesty, Solanke does the most running out of any player, and he hasn't pulled a hamstring. So a lot is not just down to the way that we play. It can be down to the individual. Van der Ven had hamstring injury before when he was at Wolfsburg, so he's not new to them. Udogie, what did he have? He had surgery on something end of last year, didn't he? Was that hamstring?
Yeah, he didn't have a proper pre-season, did he? Because
Yeah,
he come in late and.
Yeah, I don't know if that was hamstring as well, but he had surgery last year and stuff. So it's frustrating, but it's. I don't think it's an Ange issue. I think it's we're playing a lot of football with a not very big squad.
You mentioned the 3 rest days, and quite a few of these games. Now, this might not be. It might sort of cross over between hamstrings and results. It's been noticeable that the teams we've played have had 1 extra day rest compared to us. Now, do you think that would make a difference, or?
Yes and no. I mean, that extra day can be better for rest, but also for preparing for the next game and stuff. I mean, like I said, we've been Thursday, Sunday the entirety of this month, and you know, we now have actually 5 days rest until we play Newcastle. So, be interesting to see if that's beneficial to us or not. But like. Last season we had, you know, bit of an injury crisis around the same time. It was a bit earlier when again there was a lot of football happening and stuff. But towards the end of the year, we didn't really have an injury crisis at all. So you can't just say that it's down to the training and the way that we play when it only seems to happen at the congested times of year. I don't know. It could be. It could be.
Paul, Tom, let me bring Paul in here. You had your hand up. It was your turn anyway, so you wanted to come in?
Yeah. We've already played 10 games more this season than we did last season. So, you know, that's one factor. Also, it's with a much smaller squad than we had last season. So you've got 9 players who went out who haven't all been replaced.
Well, let me ask you that because you've not been on the show before, and it's something we've discussed, and it was something certainly when we were in pre-season and we were starting up this show that, and Adrian and I were certainly talking about the fact that we needed more cover in certain areas. We needed more, you know, another striker. We needed another left-sided defender, and we didn't sign those players. We brought in some very good young players, granted, but we didn't sign enough players, enough experienced players that we needed, and that we're now paying the price for poor recruitment again.
Yeah, and I'm not blaming Ange for that at all. So, you know, I think we sold experience and brought in inexperience, you know, and potential, which is great if you're looking at the long-term view and benefit, but there is no short-term benefit to that strategy at all. And that's why we're going through this mini crisis that I don't think is a crisis at all.
But Ben, we were discussing this. Can you give me the numbers? Because I can't remember it, and you know I live up here. I saw Johnny Hammy's given me a couple of press cuttings, but I don't remember players being out long term with hamstring injuries. And I say the stats don't bear up. There was an injury crisis because he won all but one trophy, domestic trophy in his 2 years here. So, anyway,
in a much colder climate.
Well, it's cold up here.
With a lot less travel.
Well, yeah, I don't know. So anyway, we'll come back to some of this because there's no doubt there is a hamstring problem. I'm struggling to believe it's down to Ange. But if you look in the chat, sorry, I've gone and put the wrong one. Where was
I've seen this on social media.
Mark's saying Ange is the hamstring killer. David down to his left back before. Well, I think he is the last left back.
Dorrington can play left back, but even this with Reguilon can sign for another club in January. I can understand why he's there. He's not wanted, basically.
Look, I'm Ben.
The problem is as we were saying, in the summer we had 9-10 players go out the door, and then we've replaced them with one first team player, two teenagers that have played a little bit, another one that's been injured the whole season, and the other one's only joining us in the next couple of days. That's just not sustainable at all. And there's only what reasons could there be possibly? And I'm putting this as a question to you because I just cannot understand why a club would sell so many players and not replace them.
Well, there was once a time we sold one player and bought 7. So now they're trying it the other way around.
But it just strikes to me that I don't know, and this is maybe me being cynical, and I don't mean to bring it into this sort of conversation, but it just feels like they've trimmed the fat off of it to be able to sell it for more profit or more money. I feel like, and I don't want to bring it to a Levy in, Levy out, or all of this stuff, but why? I cannot fathom how in what world anyone can think, oh yeah, we'll get rid of 9 players and we'll be all right, considering how much we struggled kind of with squad depth last season as well. Actually, if we'd kept Højbjerg, that would have made quite. I know that's another midfielder, but Højbjerg has had experience at playing in defence and stuff like that as well, and he's an experienced person. I don't know. It just seems odd to me.
I'm more interested about the players who are on loan, like Ashley Phillips.
I'm going to come back to that, Paul.
Man of Solomon.
I just want to say, because there is, before I'll come back to the point that Tom made, there is talk, and I mean, it doesn't seem logical to me, but there is certainly some talk in social media that Levy, in trying to sell the club, wants to reduce the wage bill in order to make the club more attractive. My view is that's bollocks economics, because if you're struggling mid to low table and you're not winning cups, your asset is worth considerably less than any savings you've made on the wage bill. So I'm not buying that for a minute. But there's no doubt, Adrian, that we haven't bought enough, because we've discussed it, we haven't bought enough experienced players to compensate for the ones we let go, the experienced players themselves. So, the Højbjerg being a good example.
Yeah, and since 2019, when the stadium opened, we spent 1.1 billion on players. Let that sink in. We'd spent over 600 million before Ange came in. Since he come in, while he's been in, we've getting in Solanke and the kids, Gray. Bergvall was 8.5 million. He was cheaper, but Odegaard was 30-odd million, led to believe and all that, right? Although it's over 420-odd million, and we ain't finished this season yet, the actual spend under Ange is 245 million, just under, a little bit under that, right? So it's still 120-odd million a season. And that's with this season not finished. What I say about our transfer window, prior to Ange coming in, I think we'd spent over 600 to 685 million on 29 players. Roden, Jack Clark, you can name all these, can't you? That didn't make it. and the recruitment just hasn't been good enough. I like to term it as we've failed better in recent transfer windows, which we have. We brought good talent in, but when you're playing 7 players, 24 years underage, away at Nottingham Forest, and Decky's 24, you think he was 34 the way he played, right? And then you're adding more youth to that in Bergvall and Gray, who's been absolutely superb, right? Then like you're putting younger players into a squad which is developing anyway, which is developing players in here because you got like you Doggy, Sarr, haven't you? VDV's young, Dragoson's young, Johnson's young, Odebert, if he comes in, he's young, and then now we've got Heung-min Hook coming in as well, right? Yeah. This is the squad is not balanced. There isn't enough aggressive players in the squad, as Tom alluded to. I said 2 seasons ago when the squad was back there, I said there aren't enough aggressive players in the squad, and people say, "What do you mean?" I said, "Winners fight for the ball. They'll have a tug of war of an opponent when you get a throw-in until the referee or linesman makes a decision, and you've got winners and fighters in your side. We've hardly got any. I mean, Romero when he's at his fierce, I mean, and then you're looking at we've got players that can hold the ball like Solanke and Akula and that, but there aren't enough aggressive players in. And when people say bring in a number 6 or say a good, let's go back to the old days of a holding midfield player that can do that's versatile. We need to bring in 2 of them, not 1, because if you bring in 1, he can't play in every game this season. So you need to bring in 2. So this squad still needs a lot of upgrades. We know that in the summer we should have got a left back. I mean, that's criminal not getting a left back in the summer. Yeah. Right?
Let me bring Harry in. Because I know Harry's got limited time, Tom.
Go on, Harry, sorry.
There's a number. I mean, I'm looking at the chat, and I know there's a number of anti-Levy people in the chat. But no one can argue, however big a supporter you are of Levy, nobody can argue that the recruitment has been coherent or showing any sign of joined-up thinking.
I think that's true. I think that we've brought in some good players, to be honest with you, but I do completely agree. I think in the summer window, we didn't, for example, go that extra mile. We didn't bring in cover. We didn't bring in experience, as you already touched on, and we let too much go. I said it in the summer, and a lot of people, let's say, didn't like it, they just didn't like to hear it at the time. But I personally didn't think we should let Højbjerg go. And that was quite an unpopular opinion, as I'm sure you know, in the summer. But I just felt that we needed that experience on top of Europa League with a new European format, which we all knew was coming. That's the thing. I felt like we've gone into the window and we didn't know there's going to be a new format. We didn't know there's going to be extra games because we've got a thinner squad than last season. I just can't get my head around it. I thought, we brought in some good players. That's the reality. We brought in good players. Archie Gray, really impressed with him. Really see his value. Dominic Solanke, I think he's proving as every week goes by why we've spent the money on him, and his all-round shift to the team and what he contributes. I do worry though in terms of running him into the ground and him not getting the service, but I think that's a massive signing. But yeah, it's not joined up. It's all right buying young, but you still need experience, and this team at the moment is lacking leadership and experience to navigate them through a slightly difficult period. And that's what we need right now, and that's what should be brought in January. I don't think it will, but I think it should be.
Yeah. Ramon Vega, I'm not quite sure what that's about. Was he not once the manager of Spurs? Question. Do you truly believe that sacking Ange will lead to any significant change? The problems run much deeper than just managerial position. Unfortunately for Ange's squad, it's too small. Even a big club dealing with injuries would likely struggle. I'm not a great fan of the January window, but this club is forced to do something. Hard to argue with a word of that, isn't it?
Yeah. 100%. And I feel like we're in dire straits and stuff at the moment. When we're not. We are a couple of good top quality signings away from and getting players back from injury and stuff like that. Like there is something there. The thing is, Pochettino said ages ago, we need a painful rebuild. and this is exactly what a painful rebuild under him would have been like, because actually our form is not too dissimilar now to what it was under him in his last, few months, last year or so.
Yeah.
Even though we got to a Champions League final, we were terrible in the league in the lead up to the Champions League final, and then we were terrible when we came back the next season and stuff. But
Tom, let me put this to you. I've said on a few social media sites, everybody wants a painful rebuild until it starts to hurt.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and that's the thing, and 100%, and it does. Don't get me wrong, it's horrible at the moment. Like going there, I wasn't going there with any real excitement or anything like that, and it is a tough watch at times and stuff. But I'm also very aware that the players are knackered. Like they're playing every single game. You can tell that they're tired. But why? Again, I still don't understand why. I had no issue with us selling Højbjerg because I don't think he matched up with what we were trying to do in terms of how Ange wants to play and stuff. My issue with selling Højbjerg is don't sell Højbjerg unless you know you've got someone to bring in place of him. Now, if that someone to bring in was Archie Gray, then you need to make sure that your defence is stocked up enough to ensure that an 18-year-old centre midfielder isn't having to play in defence. And don't get me wrong, I think Archie Gray has been brilliant at centre back. To be honest with you, okay, he was a bit lax maybe today for the second goal, but I think he's been very, very, very good wherever he's played, and people have been a bit maybe not so nice to him on certain occasions with some of his performances. But I think he's been very good, and I think actually at centre back he's looked pretty okay. It's not like he's being exploited every single game or anything along the lines of that. But again, I just can't. We have to do deals in this window, and it's going to cost us money, and we have to spend that money wisely. But what we need to not do is we need to not panic in this window and just get any old player in who wants to come just for the sake of it. We need to make sure we're getting the right players in. And if we can't get the right players in that we want, then we need to be sensible about who we do bring in and what they can offer. Because we don't want to put ourselves in another position where we're trying to get rid of your regulons, trying to get rid of your players. But we spent summer spent getting rid of players we needed to get rid of for 4 or 5 years.
I'm going to talk about specific names in the second half of the show. I want to just pick up something David said. One of the myths, David, is that Levy's an accountant. He's not. He's an economist, but he's not a qualified accountant. That said, I think all clubs are run by accountants. All businesses are effectively run by accountants.
And this may not be the most popular view amongst lots of people. I know lots of people don't really like Levy and they want Levy gone, and I get frustrated with him. And I wouldn't be sad if he did go tomorrow, as long as he was replaced with someone with football ambition at the forefront of what they are. But I can't pick and choose who comes in, right? I've been a Spurs fan for my whole life. I'm 32 years old. I've basically only really known the Levy era, if I'm honest with you, from memory. Yeah. But before Poch came in, we was always a mid-table meddling club. Martin Jol got us into Europe, and we was all really happy and stuff. Even before that, in the 90s, we were dross. We were awful. I've looked back at videos of us in the 90s. We were terrible.
Yeah.
And the hope of potentially winning a Premier League, or this hope of playing in the Champions League every time, that's only come around under Levy's tenureship. So the fact that we're mad that we're not in the top 4 or challenging for titles and stuff isn't something we would have ever been mad about 25 years ago. So the fact that we're mad about that now shows that we have improved as a club under his stewardship. But has he now got us to a ceiling where he can't break through or doesn't want to break through? I don't know. But we need to. I'm not his biggest fan right at this moment because I think he fleeces the fans and stuff like that. But it's a business end of the day, and it's his business. Or Joe Lewis's business, whoever it is. But it's we're paying the highest ticket prices in the whole league, and we're playing, we're down in 12th, 13th, 14th place. Like, that's not conducive. We're buying 4 or 5 18-year-olds in a summer transfer window rather than buying 4 or 5 ready-made players. If those 18-year-olds we bought in the summer would have been absolutely fine. I was really happy with every single one of the signings we made in the summer. We just needed two more and 2 more first-team players. Why are we not showing the ambition to do that? Like, it's not like we couldn't afford it, because we could.
Yeah. I don't want to talk too much about Levy. Harry, I don't know how much time you've got. I want to get you in.
No rush.
We are doing a special show with Sean Butler. Sean, probably on social media, certainly Spurs social media, one of the best corporate finance people there are. So try and get a decent audience for Sean as we discuss how the club is owned, how it's structured, how the directors and others are remunerated, and of course how the club might be sold and to whom, if that comes about. I want to pick up something that Mark said in the chat. Has Andy not had 400 million to rebuild? I think he's had anything near 400 million.
No, he hasn't.
Hang on, I think I've got if it's still here.
But also, I just want to say, has Ange not? No, Ange, even if he has had 400 million, which he hasn't, Ange isn't the person picking the players. There is a whole recruitment team that is picking the players, and then not only do they pick the players, they then go to Ange and say, which of these ones do you want? He'll pick the one that he wants, but he might not get necessarily the first one he picked. He is signing off saying, yeah, I'll have that player, but he is not necessarily picking he's not going, I want this player, I want this player. Yeah. And also, ultimately, it then comes down to, like, after they get the player and they get the price agreed and everything like that, it's still Levy and the board that have to sign it off.
So, sorry to interrupt. I completely agree with you, but as a manager, when you say I'm happy with that signing, like we've seen with various players, when they don't perform, I do think you have to take responsibility with that. He said he's really happy that that Werner come in, and I don't have a problem with that opinion. That's fine. I can understand, especially last season, why that was done. But like now, some people saying, look, this is what Ange has been given. He's been given Werner, etc. But I think a lot of it. It will be down to Ange. I think signings like Archie Graham and Werner would have been like right up his street. I completely agree with you, but I just think that Ange creates a problem for himself when he says, I'm happy. He digs out a little hole for himself.
Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, what is he? If he sits in a press conference and goes,
there's not a lot he can say. I know there's not a lot he can say.
Yeah, so it's very, if he sits there and goes, no, I hated every single player we bought in. I can't
like Conte, I get that.
But you do have to play the PR machine a little bit with that. But
of course,
I do completely understand where you're coming from. The issue with the Werner signing for me was how early in the window we did that. Like, if it was, getting towards the deadline day and we couldn't have got the targets in, we're getting Werner in as just an extra number, then I think fans would have been annoyed about it, but would have at least been like, right, at least we've got an extra player on board.
It's the fact they were keen to do it, Yeah,
they did it so early on in the window that everyone went, oh, God, that's going to be our left winger signing then. And that was kind of it. And so, yeah. At the end of the day, Ange clearly signs off on the players that we sign, but he's not. I mean, because let's be honest, if he was picking the players he wants, then he's going to be picking bloody Vinicius Jr. and players like that, isn't he? So,
yeah.
But there are fans who think we should be signing Mbappe and Vinicius Jr. and whoever. They're not living in the real world. Why would they want to ever come to the Spurs?
I mean,
let's get back to the game, boys. Harry, have you got much longer?
Yeah, no, keep going. You're absolutely fine. No rush.
Okay. Because I do want to talk about, certainly the transfer window, but let's finish off talking about the game, because I think there's a lot of things coming up in this chat that's really, really interesting, and probably more interesting than the game that everybody watched. But 62 minutes, Maddison, Sarr and Werner for Johnson, Bissouma and Son. people criticise Paul. Let's bring you in. People often criticise Ange's game management, that he doesn't do enough, doesn't change things, is reactive, etc. But that looked to me like it was a apart from players being tired and he needs to rotate. He was bringing players on to try and change the game.
Yeah, but but the fact that Maddison turned up to the game holding a pillow should have been a signal that he really wasn't that interested in playing today. I don't know if you saw the pre-match when they arrive at the stadium on the social medias.
I think that's a running joke with the players and Maddison, that he takes that pillow everywhere with him. So
okay, everywhere he goes, he always takes the pillow with him.
Or something like that. But yeah,
fair enough. Each to their own. But yeah, I mean, Sonny. I don't know where to start. He shouldn't even have come out for the second half, as far as I'm concerned.
We'll come back to it. We do have to talk about.
We have to talk about him for sure. And Johnson going off. Yeah, I mean, if Johnson had stayed on, there's every chance he would have converted that cross from Werner that escaped Solanke, and we would have won 3-1. But it's slim margins, isn't it?
Oh, small margins indeed. Life and sport, my friends.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian, your thoughts on the subs?
Yeah, I thought it was needed. I thought there was a drop off. I think at the end of the game we only had about 48 possession. There 52, and I think it showed. We had a lot of energy in the first half. We were fighting. The players are definitely playing for Ange. They put a lot of challenging for all them headers and all that. They really got stuck in. They are playing for Ange. There's no doubt in my mind whatsoever they are playing for him. So that's not an issue. But yeah, we needed him. Werner does give you that injection of pace, but nothing much else. There's no end product with him. Rare end product with him. Basuma, I want him out of my club, to be honest with you, unless he smashes it. We only played half the season, so it can be a bit hard to judge. I mean, he hasn't played well in some games, not enough. I want him out. Son, when Son's at his best, he does things instinctively rather than think about them. And he also, the team in general is playing quite well as well, or they put him through in a good position. He's not getting the service in the right positions to do what he wants to do. He's crowded out immediately he gets the ball. That's part of the way when we're moving, transitions are so slow. Even a day when he got the ball left and all that, he was crowded out most of the time, and he used to just needs to slip past that first defender, either try and win a penalty in the box or get in there and get a shot off. And it's not happening. His stats are pretty good. I mean, in 16 league games, he's got 5 goals and 6 assists, which is 11 contributions. And not bad for a player who's not in form. And I expect his numbers to be good by the time the season finishes. I don't see him losing the captain's armband, because I don't think it matters who you give it to, really. So, no, but the subs, yeah, they were needed. We were starting to look leggy. I thought we were starting to tire. And, made them
they said on commentary that we were looking particularly leggy. But,
did they? All right.
Harry, let's bring you back. This goes down to the poor recruitment. I mean, and the injuries, but the poor recruitment, that we haven't got enough players to come in to genuinely rotate. We're just not able to rotate, so players are running on empty.
Yeah,
and
absolutely, we didn't do enough. That's the reality.
And that's the January programme. I mean, the 4th, Saturday the 4th, Sunday the 12th. I mean, Christ, that's a week off. But
no. We got the Liverpool game in between, but I couldn't fit it in because you're only allowed 200 characters.
Forgot about the Liverpool game. That's on the 8th, isn't it?
Yeah, it's on the 8th. So
and then Arsenal on the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Then Everton away on the 19th. Hoffenheim.
They're all, sorry to interrupt, but they're all televised, I think, but one as well. So that's it's a busy month for the TV schedule as well.
One less game than December, though. Hey,
yes,
we've got 9 this month. We've got 8 next month. 4 at home, 4 away.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if we talk about doing business in January, it would be brilliant if we could have a fair amount of it done. A Liverpool game, probably, let's say, before Tamworth, before the 12th.
In the first week, Ian. in the first week. We've got a
Yeah.
recruitment team at this club that have been here. They won't just be doing the recruitment now. They should have been doing it earlier in the
Yeah.
season. This is
Yeah,
why
we need-
there's a myth. There's a bit of a myth when we get into social media now, linking us with every man and a dog as they do every transfer window. You can virtually dismiss all of the ones now, or should be able to dismiss them. The only way we're doing business now, if there was truth about Skriniar and Milani at PSG, pay off their wages and get them on loans, because I think we'll go for loans as well. The only way we're going to bring in more than 2 players or more than one is getting on loans or loans to buy, right? But we should have our targets and been in talks quietly with them, right, to move quickly and get these deals done in the first week of January. Now, like I said, if one's in the media now, you can virtually dismiss most of them, because unless they really are an opportunity signing, so must get him, right? We should be, we should be having ready to move on these and strike these deals in the first week, but we'll see.
I think one thing as well is we do seem to be working, like the last few years, we do seem to do a lot more under the radar, like nothing, like, Odebear, as an example, that signing literally was like, oh yeah, Spurs are looking to sign Odebear, and then it was announced later that day. Like that does seem to be, we do seem to be working under the radar a bit more to avoid these things. But 100%, like we should have been doing well as soon as the blooming summer transfer window ended. We should have been like recruiting what we needed, but even more so over the last month and stuff. You would hope that they have players ready to sign within the first week. Like if not before Tamworth, then we need to have, I would like to have most of our January with transfer window done before the Arsenal game. But I don't know. I mean, I definitely think there is going to be a few loans, because there is this, we got Vuskovic and Phillips, who are both playing well at their respective clubs on loan at the moment. And
Manor Solomon.
And Solomon.
And George Abbott and Josh Keighley and Jamie Donnelly.
But the reason why I said those two is because they're both centre backs, and centre back is where we feel like we're in dire need for reinforcement, as well as maybe left back at the moment. And the one thing we do have to consider, which they've already said themselves, is anyone we're bringing in now, what effect does that have on these youngsters that are then coming in? However, I also feel like, well, if the youngsters want their opportunity, they've got to be good enough to warrant their opportunity as well. So if you've got good players for them to compete with, then that's going to be good for them. Like signing a Godfrey on loan in January, he's a fast player and he can cover multiple positions, but is that what you really want moving forward? Like, do we really want to be making signings on loan in January just to have them for 6 months with no intention of signing them for the future? Like, is a player like that really going to buy into what we're trying to do, or are they just seeing it as a holiday for 6 months?
Tom, can I stop that, because no other reason than I really want to come back to it. Godfrey is one of the names that I've got on my list that we should discuss. But
Private Godfrey,
yeah. Corporal Jones,
Warmington on Sea, yeah.
Mr. Warmington on Sea, Mr. Panic. Poor old Harry will not have a clue what the old farts are talking about. But there you go.
Hey Harry, we got relegated once.
Yeah,
if anyone under 50 won't know about that, so don't worry.
I want to quickly talk about the end of the game, and let's get on to some of the substantial stuff or substantive stuff. Watching the game, Harry, I thought we were comfortable at 2-1. I wasn't seeing. I thought we were holding them back. They weren't peppering the goal. Yeah, they weren't bad. They had a fair amount of the ball, un-Ange-like, but I didn't see them scoring until they scored.
Really? No, I can't agree with that, I'm afraid. I felt that the goal was coming. For me, it was just a case of I was worried how long was added on and whether we could make it through. I'd always check my watch 2 or 3 times. And I thought that was a really uncomfortable second half. And whether he's, Ange's flex or not, if he has, then that's credit to him for showing flexibility. And I'm not going to have a go at him, because not all things, work when you do try things. And I think he flexed last season, if I remember correctly, Everton, where he brought in Dragusin on with Romero and Van der Ven. And fans obviously had a go at him because we did concede and draw the game, I believe, 2-2. But he did show flexibility to flex the formation and the system. But yeah, no, I wasn't comfortable, to be honest with you, because I'm Nori on that left-hand side every time was getting in behind, and I knew that eventually that something's going to happen from that side, which it did. He got the pass in behind to Strand Larsen. I was hoping it'd be offside. Obviously, it wasn't in the end. It's quite comfortably onside. Great finish, though, it has to be said.
Well, it was a great finish. Adrian, you with me or with Harry? Did you see we're going to concede here?
I was sort of 50-50. You know, I thought, no,
Splinters in
you're
your
off.
arse
It wasn't.
again.
I was like
right in the middle.
I was pretty relaxed about it. I thought, you know, you're thinking like they could, but then we come close. And like I said to the guy who could do the third goal next to me, the guy who sits regularly. So, but that was it. But again, you know, it's down our right hand side. Again, although I thought Porro was better today, but it was down the side where Johnson and Porro normally are, which is your opposing manager. That's where you're going to attack us, isn't it? Because but it's been rightly said, Johnson did put in more of a shift today. I think the last time I see him put in a shift without scoring was against Man City in the League Cup, and at home, and I thought it was really good then. So he's got it in him, but he's still developing as well, you know. But comfortable? No, I've got to be honest. I say, although I was like that, you always thought, well, we've had breaks, there's had breaks. Let's just hope it stays this way, and it stays at 2-1, but it didn't. You know.
Paul, you thought that goal was coming or not?
Yeah, kind of, because you all expect a team, they had nothing to lose, so they were piling more men forward, and we just didn't have the nous to play the game out. But then, you know, we could have gone 3-1 up more than one occasion and killed the game. And there was some very bad last-minute decisions made by whether it was Kulusevski or Solanke, where they could have squared the ball or shot when they didn't shoot. So, I mean, the goal, I feel that it was a great goal. If that had been a goal scored by us, we'd all be raving about it. And you know, I don't know how he beat Forster from that angle. I mean, Forster was standing there like a Christmas tree that had been left out for collection by the bin men. But, you know, it was just incredible that he got that ball through Forster into the net. But, yeah, then I was worried for the last, you know, the 8 minutes plus the 2 minutes of injury time that we were going to go and lose it. Because that's what would have happened in the past against Wolves. So,
Spursy. Tom, you thinking they're bound to equalise?
I mean, it was a weird atmosphere in the stadium. I didn't necessarily feel like we were going to concede, but when they brought on a couple of like young players who were wingers that were fast and tricky, and they massively overloaded on their left hand side. And as soon as it happened, I said they're trying to pin back Porro and know that he's not the best defensively. And Porro made a few good last ditch challenges and stuff, but the reason why he's making those last ditch challenges is because he was out of position in the first place. I mean, when the goal was scored, Johnson wasn't on the pitch, and actually Johnson had provided some good defensive cover for Porro throughout the game, leading up to that before them. But the only reason why I felt like a goal was coming was because it's Tottenham Hotspur. And I know that sounds really stupid, but it just feels, especially at this present moment in time, it just felt like us. Although, you know, it's so frustrating that Solanke didn't score to make it 3-1 when Werner put that ball across. I mean, that was the most hilarious 15 seconds of football for me, because you saw all Werner, like everything Werner has to offer in a 15 seconds there, where he does brilliantly to take on his man on the outside and put a great ball across, and then 10 seconds later completely air shots the next ball coming across to the thing. But we didn't have a shot on target in the second half. No. Not a single shot on target. And I know shots on target, you can create chances without having a shot on target. Like that Solanke one, you know, inches away from putting that in the back of the net and stuff like that. But it's a bit disappointing that we didn't manage to muster a single shot on target at all in the second half. And I think we did intentionally play a bit more counter-attacking in the second half. But I think my one frustration was not necessarily the defensive side of things, but just our composure on the ball. Like Bentancur, a few times in the last 10, 15 minutes, just hoofed it. Like, not even like hoofing it into the corners, just like up the middle of the pitch, was just like thinking it into the middle of the pitch and stuff like that. And it's like, mate, just take a second to chill You're meant to be the experienced player here. Like, take that moment to put your foot on the ball and pick out the right option. And he just kept trying to rush it forward when the players are knackered, and clearly that wasn't what was going to be good for us in that moment. That was frustrating. But to be honest, I just feel like we don't have a midfield at the moment. Basuma's been awful. Bentancur, they're just so positionally bad. Like, they're always chasing to get to the place where they should have been in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is really frustrating because they're putting in hard work. They're putting in graft to try and get across, but they should have already been there. Which is frustrating. And like, the same could be said for Porro, and actually the same could be said for Son. And I know you've got it on your screen about we have to talk about Son, but there were so many times where Solanke put in such good effort to close down their keeper, and as soon as you see Solanke do that, Son and Johnson should be up on their men. And instead they're waiting until the ball gets played, and then they're making a 10-yard dash, which then has a knock-on effect because then Bentancur or Basuma or whoever behind feel like they then need to chase up. Whereas if they had made that decision as soon as they saw Solanke go, they're already there, and then the Wolves have no option but to play it long or give it away.
Compare that to last season when Jordan Pickford did that and Sonny scored.
Yeah.
Solanke did it, and Sonny could have got the benefits of that if he'd been another yard faster.
Yeah.
Well, there was a drop off in a sec. I thought we pressed well in the first half, and we fought for everything much better. And I just thought we dropped off on the second half, and I think that was tiredness. And I agree about the midfield. I mean, we all know most games are won and lost in midfield, and their midfield is just whatever blend of three we've put in it just hasn't performed consistently. And until it does, our fortunes are not going to change, and unless it's all down to fresh legs. If part of it's down to fresh legs, our fortunes will change a bit. But how much? We'll wait and see. We've got half a season to go yet, So
I just feel with our midfield, we just don't have a calming presence. Like, we don't have someone who's going to just calm things down a little bit. Like, they're all good runners of the ball, but they all give the ball away a lot. Like Pat Matasar, I think he's great, and I thought he did brilliant when he come on with his legs and his energy and enthusiasm. But he's so bad at giving the ball away. He gives the ball away so often. And like, Bentancur was terrible for giving the ball away today. Basuma also not great for keeping a hold of the ball. And when you're trying to play possession, I mean, like, as Sat said, we didn't really keep possession today. Wolves have more possession than us, and I definitely think there's been a change over the last month where we've definitely gone backwards in our possession stats and stuff like that. We seem to be playing more counter attack than
and Dragusin can't pass to save his life at the moment. He needs to develop that part of his game, doesn't he? And we're really missing Romero's composure at the back. I mean, everything went through Rudiger at Chelsea, didn't it? There's always one player at the back. We don't. None of that. All their centre backs. There's only one who progresses the ball forward, and that's Romero. And he's good on the ball, and he's a good passer. And for some reason, some fans don't think he's good. I think he's brilliant. I think he's the best defender.
I think Romero is really, really good. He obviously has these odd head loss moments, and for me, he just has these moments where he falls asleep in key moments where he just switches off. But I think in terms of everything we're trying to do, he's really quick to engage, and when he gets the ball, he seems to more often than not pick the right pass, which is really important for the way we want to play, especially with our fullbacks. Although they're not really inverting as much as what they were, but when we're playing out from the back with our fullbacks inverting in so much, you need your centre backs to be able to be players that can pick the pass, because the obvious ball of playing it out wide isn't there.
Romero is our conductor, though, isn't he? He pulls the strings. He's dropped the baton. We are conductorless right now.
Yeah.
Harry, let me bring you in. I do want to move it on to our hero, Mr. Son. He'd have been a stalwart of the team since you started watching, but I think it seems to a lot of us cynics that his best days are now behind him. What do you think?
Well, yeah, that's probably true, because he's not getting any younger. I think we know that he's had a long career. Yeah, we're not going to sit here and tell you that we've yet to see the best of Son, because that just wouldn't be true. But Son's similar age to Salah, and look how Salah's getting on at the moment. So I think if Son's utilised the right way, then maybe we can get a little bit more out of him. I'm thinking maybe like, it's hard, I suppose, for Ange, as it would be for any manager. Maybe just sacrificing Son and saying, stay up top, don't track back, and we'll use your pace on the counter. Because I've been looking and watching Liverpool a lot this year because they've been excellent. And Salah, stats back this up as well. He doesn't appear to be doing the tracking back or the covering the kilometres or miles, if you like. Doesn't be, not doing that hard graft work defensively and staying up top. His end product has been bigger because of that. If you look at Liverpool when they haven't got the ball, I mean, Salah's still behind the good ball, don't get me wrong, but there's no press there, and he's often the furthest forward, whereas the striker drops back and that they all cover and they all kind of help, and then it goes along to Salah. Or looking at that game against Tottenham, there wasn't much movement from him when, he just still produced that quality. So I'm wondering if we say to Son, do less, but we're going to get more out of you. But the reality is, if nothing changes, then he cannot be a regular starter. He's not having a big enough impact. He's going to be a bench impact player at best. And I think that's the reality. And that's January market and going and getting that winger that we didn't go and get in the summer.
Paul, we've got an option, a 1-year option on Son. Are you Daniel Levy? We need the money from the Koreans. Let's exercise the option. Or are you the hard-nosed football coach who's no longer justifies a place in the team? I need to move him on for younger legs.
No, I think you keep him because his value to us is still great. And he has brought so much experience to that squad. And the young guy coming in now from South Korea, he's going to teach him a lot. So he should just be there to mentor him. I mean, I wouldn't start him in every game now, Sonny. I think he should be on the bench more often than not and then be brought on with fresh legs when everyone else is knackered. But he's not. He's running on fumes for sure. And he just looks half a shadow of the player he was last season, let alone 5 years ago. So we have to keep. You can't get rid of Sonny. Think of the cells. Think of the South Korean.
We've got
the new guy to replace him, but that's going to take a bit.
It was with you, wasn't it, Tom, earlier on about the bringing in the new Korean. Somebody on Spurs
Heung-min
chat talking about that and about bringing in this new Korean wonder kid just to keep the Korean market going.
And the Squid Games.
I mean, I hope that is not the case. Like for his sake as much as anything, because the biggest problem is now for the new guy. I can't say his name properly. Heung-min Hyuk, I think it is. Which is
Do you think Bentancur can say it properly?
But I hope that isn't the reason, because otherwise he's not gonna last more than 2 years at this club, because everyone is going to be expecting him to be the next coming of Son and give him almost no time at all to settle in. And you can just see it now. As soon as he comes on and he has a bad game, everyone's going to be like, oh, he's only here because of the Korean market and stuff like that.
He's more step-toe than Son, isn't he?
Yeah. But it's... I hope for his sake that he actually is a very, very good player and that he has been brought in for the right reasons, not just for commercial reasons. In terms of, I would give Tom the extension because he is still a very good player and he's still a player who can pick can have a moment, But against United, sticking the ball in from the corner, like he can still produce moments. The problem is that those moments are not now surrounded by the hard graft and effort and the all-round 90-minute impact that he used to have. So having a Heung-min Son on the bench to come on when you're in dire need of a goal, or just need someone who's happy to get the ball at his feet and run with it for a little bit, is absolutely perfect. Having Heung-min Son to play in rotation every now and again is absolutely fine and perfect. Heung-min Son starting 9 games out of 9 through December is not perfect. No. I mean, nor is that for anyone, but he can't do it. He physically can't do it. And you're not getting the best version of Son by making him do that either.
Paul, you look like you wanted to come in because I do want to bring Adrian in because
I was just going to say, Sonny is
10
also
minutes yet.
Man City's nemesis. So for that reason alone, we keep him. And you know, just
Yeah,
for PR
true
reasons,
enough.
we should keep him. Can I just add the breaking news that R.I.P. Jimmy Carter?
Yeah.
I don't mean the Millwall player.
Yeah, I thought you were going to announce that it's not a football matter at all, but former President Jimmy Carter has died at the age of 100. The peanut farmer from Georgia.
100. I hope I don't live to 100 because that's another 70 years of misery watching Spurs.
Yeah.
Trophyless.
Think of poor Harry.
Harry's going to have to jump in a minute. So I want
Red side for Harry.
But Adrian, can I bring you in on the? Can I bring you in on the Son thing, and then I'm going to bring Harry in on.
Well, he's
what he
like,
wants and then I'll let Harry go because
Son's lost
I've
form.
got him on a short leash at the moment.
Son's loss of form has been when there's been a drop off from the team, as in the squad in general, isn't it? Right. I don't believe he's finished. He's the best finisher with his left and right foot at the club. And even if he's lost his afterburners like he had at Wembley when he come from the halfway line and Dundee scored that, or Luis, and then the home game against Burnley when had the afterburners. I mean, you look at more recently against West Ham at home, he was about 2 yards in a half, and he was fresh. He looked bright, and he runs on, bamboos it, switches the ball from feet to feet, scores. And then there's the other goal against Everton when VDV broke from our back four, charged up the field. Sonny was trying to keep up with him because he's faster, but VDV still fed him and he scored. He's not done. I think the thing with a lot of these critiques, when things aren't going well, it's like when you're winning games, the team's brilliant. The bench is absolute. The stock of the bench, players on the bench rises. And why were the 5 players left out of the match day squad or whatever? When you lose, the team's crap. Look at our bench. It's rubbish. And then why weren't the players left out of the squad in the match day squad? No, I just think this is just because Spurs fans are suffering at the moment and they look for targets. I mean, his target, so I'd give him the year. I'd give him the year at least.
Yeah, okay, right. Remember, it's nearly Harry's bedtime. So, Harry, let's talk about the transfer window because I've got some names that, in fact, but
okay.
Let's look at this objectively. The best players are generally not available unless they're out of contract and we want to sign them now rather the clubs want to sell them rather than getting no money for them. And then you've got a month of negotiation because you know what Levy's like. Or you bring in loans, and you bring in loans because, as I think Anne just said, we don't want to block the route to the first team for the Dorringtons and the Phillipses of this world, for example, by bringing in long, experienced players, and there's no place for them. Yeah,
you've got to get the balance of both, and I think it will be a case of loans and signings in January. I don't think you can worry about blocking the path too much. I think the priority has to be getting what we need, what is deemed quality, whatever position or whatever is needed, getting that player in and improving the team at all costs. That has to be the aim. We need to work our way up the table. We need to start winning games, and Ange needs to be given the tools to do that. So, looking at this team right now, for me, it depends because us fans will have different priorities. Like someone's top of the shopping list will be a goalkeeper, others will be a centre back, others will be a winger. I mean, in an ideal world, we have all three, but it doesn't work like that, does it? So, it's all about priorities and getting in what the club and Ange deem as the priority, and then the second priority, and so on. We have to do that at all consequence, whether it be a loan, bringing the player in, and whether it be you end the contract when you don't need them. I don't know. We just have to bring these players in, and it shouldn't be, an excuse in this window of, oh my God, his wage too high. Oh my God, that's too much, because this is why we moved into the new stadium, and now is the time to backhand. I don't want or think we should be appointing a sixth manager in 6 years. I think we need to back the manager that's here now, and he needs to be given full tools in January to go and succeed, to go and get us up that table and hopefully win a trophy as well.
Agree. Do you want to give us any names that you think are realistic to bring in?
That January window is tough, to be honest with you. There's not many players that will look for a move. It's whether you put bids in. From an attacking point of view, this is not going to happen. But I still look at players like Cunha today and go, I'd love to put a bid in for him because I think a player would make a massive difference. I don't think it's going to happen. The only thing that would put me off, of course, is his injury record. But the fact that he now plays as number 10 for Wolves, I think that's one of our stronger positions. But the idea would be sign him and convert him into a striker to compete with Solanke. But I don't think that would be a priority. I look at full-backs. I think you've got quite a lot of options. You've got Kirkes of Bournemouth, who's really impressed me this season. You've, of course, got Aït-Nouri, but it's about what is best for the club and Ange that we identify. Took, for example, in this case, a left-back. But centre-back would be harder. Who's available, and again, what would be right when Romero and Van der Ven come back, when Dragusin come back. I personally believe that Dragusin's not right for the system. Good defender, but I don't think he's right. I don't think he's a ball-playing centre-back. I think he's a no-nonsense centre-back that would be more suited to like a Nuno Forest or an Emery, Aston Villa. So I think he's probably someone that will be moved on in the summer. Therefore, you look for someone more long-term in defence. So it's hard. I can't give you that many names. There's a lot of names that impress me, but I don't think in their stage of career will be looking for a move. Okay, you can bring up some names there. Godfrey, I think, would be a short-term option. Potentially a loan. Doesn't really excite me at all. It's like there's one with Bournemouth. I can't quite remember in defence that the name was going around a lot. And Lloyd Kelly, that's it. He went to Newcastle in the end. I mean, has anyone ever seen him? I haven't. Chilwell, I think there's a risk involved. Obviously, it's a big player there.
Yeah, okay. Harry, thank you for coming on. I know it's not really your bedtime. That's not till 5 to 10. Seriously, thank you. It's brilliant having you on. You always make a big contribution when you're on shows. Hopefully, we'll have you back on again before too long. And enjoy match of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. Big up to the panel. Big up to everyone in the chat as well. Thank you very much. All the best. Happy New Year to everyone as well.
Absolutely.
See you in the lane.
All the best. Thank you. Have a good rest of the show. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Hopefully we will.
Take care.
I'll start with Tom. Let's bring you in. I mean, it looks like Moore and Richarlison are relatively close to being able to come back. How long Richarlison will be there, I don't know. But Moore back. Spence obviously back after his idiotic suspension. They're the names. I mean, personally, I think we'll be looking at loans unless there's a really good opportunity to buy the right player. Godfrey can't get in the Atalanta team, but he's quick, he's mobile. I think he can play ball and he can give some cover. Chilwell's always been a decent player. I know he's had injuries, but Chelsea are going to have to unload players at some point. The boy David is going to be available on a free, isn't he, or for a nominal fee
David.
now?
Craig David.
Jonathan David, I think you mean, didn't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
Jonathan David, Craig David. No,
At Lille,
he's got
with Angel Gomez.
Craig David's gone to Southampton. I think
I've got a totally different list.
Jonathan David. I mean, that's three names. There's no, suit leaving. There's not, apart from wages. There's no big transfer fees involved in any of them. All of which I think would immediately improve our squad. Two of them are English. Tom.
Yeah, I mean, interestingly, Chilwell. So at the last few days of the summer window, I actually mentioned Chilwell a few times in a few different chats of, look, if we're really in dire need and stuff, like I think Chilwell would be a sensible. He's not getting any game time at Chelsea. I think he would be a sensible person to bring in just as a rotation option. I mean, yeah, again, we could do, but I just don't think that's really what we should be. I understand wanting to just plug some holes for 6 months, but I don't think that's helpful in a rebuild that we're kind of going through at the same time. I mean, Godfrey at Atalanta, I would actually take the Atalanta defender that's keeping him out, which is a Swedish guy. I can't remember his name. Is Isak Hein, I think his name is. He's 24 years old. He's a Swedish centre back. He's an absolute unit. He's fast. He's strong. He's composed. He captained the team to winning the Europa League and stuff like that. So I would actually look at him. And I know Atalanta are pushing to win the Scudetto this year and stuff.
But Tom, let me put that back to you.
Mm-hmm.
As I understand the club's philosophy, they're saying as young players, we've got Phillips, we've got Dorrington, we've got Vlahovic, is that how you pronounce
Vuskovic.
Vuskovic, who, for everything I'm reading about him, looks like he's going to be an exceptional player. So that's 3 young players. Plus you've got Romero. Plus you've got Van der Ven. And even if you're right. I mean, I agree with Harry actually about Dragusin. I don't think he's a Tottenham player at all in this style of football. But that's 5 central defenders. So why would we want to buy another central defender if it's going to block the routes of, say, a Dorrington or a Phillips into the side?
Well, if that's the case, then bring Phillips back. Bring him back on the 1st of January. Because there's no better way. If he's the player that you want, if you don't want to block his route to the first team, and now is the perfect opportunity for him to be getting some minutes in the first team, then bring him back. Like, that just seems the most logical thing. Like, to be honest, I saw, like, going back to people we could buy or loan to buy or whatever it might be, but I saw that, Tomori was apparently going to be sold by Milan and stuff like that. And if he's another English centre-back, he can play on the left. He's fast, he's strong, he's one.
Just interrupt you, Graham. Take care, my friend. No doubt see you on, there's a show. There is a show New Year's Eve. It's always great having you in the chat and seeing you online and stuff. So brilliant. Have a good time. And if I don't see you this side of the new year, have a drink on us. On you go.
Yeah. But if what they are saying is that they don't want to, and I've heard this being said as well, that they don't want to hamper the development of the young players and stuff like that, then get Phillips back on January the 1st. I mean, I would also be looking to bring Solomon. I would actually send Werner back to Leipzig, and I'd bring Solomon back, to be honest with you, as well. He's playing well for Leeds at the moment. I don't know if we can bring him back. There needs to be certain clauses in the loan contracts and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's even an option with Solomon. But
he didn't play for Leeds today. Just to let you know, he was on the bench and didn't play.
He did come on.
He did?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he had a hand in the goal. I think he had a hand in the goal. They won 1-0. I'll have to check that.
Oh, right.
But,
okay.
Yeah,
I was too busy cooking and stuff and prepping the show, so I missed him coming on.
But yeah, so that is something that we could definitely do. But again, just like you look at that and you just go, well, why didn't we just keep them? I understand with Solomon, he came back from a long injury, couldn't be guaranteed minutes. Although ironically, he probably would have actually played quite a lot of football for us if he had stayed now. But actually, it's probably done in the world of good, and we might see a different Solomon to what we saw last year, which wasn't.
I think they loaned him out, Tom, because he didn't have a pre-season.
Yeah,
and that was the main reason behind it, because he just recovered from his injury.
But I think you could help our squad massively on January the 1st by announcing that you're bringing Phillips and Solomon back, and then you can look at the players that you want to get in that will make no bones about it. The one position where we desperately need to sign a player that isn't going to have any effect on us or block any pathways is left back. We need to sign a left back, and I would be if this Johnny Cardoso from Betis is the player that they're wanting to sign in the summer to be our number 6, then get him in now as well. Give him 6 months to bed in and get him in now, even if that means that you have 100 million centre midfielders. Just get him in now and pay the extra to do that. Jonathan David, I think, would be a very, very smart, good signing. I don't think he is the most amazing player in the world, but he is a player who scores, like his stats. If you look at his goals to game ratio, you watch him and you think, oh god, he doesn't look that good, but he just seems to score a goal every other game. It's quite bizarre. Like he gives me a bit like Jermaine Defoe vibes, to be honest with you.
He's developed, but do we want another sort of winger type inside forward at the club with all the wingers we got?
To be honest, I would like us to get. I don't know who, but the profile of striker I would like us to get is a bit more of a target man, just for that sort of variation. But
Mark's like a broken record sometimes.
Yeah, he is. He goes on.
I thought I'd give him a moment of glory. Hey?
But
need a new hymn sheet, Mark.
Got bad news for you, Mark. Whoever you are, you're not getting a new chairman or a new manager.
Right, let's get back to the job in hand. Adrian, let's bring you in before I bring Paul in.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see.
I've banded about.
Right, Adrian, I've got my psychic powers on. You're going to say you'd like us to sign Dorgu.
Yes. and he is 20. Patrick Dorgu, Danish-Nigerian left back. And he looks superb, right? But he's raw. I don't know if he can do it at the Prem or not.
Yeah.
But I absolutely, definitely think we'll do it in the Prem, Luka Vaskovic. And I'd put him above Phillips and Dorrington. But the problem
can't play yet, can he? He can't.
Well, you have to go into the intricacies of the rules, don't you? And Brexit comes into that because he's not. He could come. I don't know if you can register him till he's old enough to play because he's not 18 to the 24th of February. And by that time, you're supposed to have named your squad. And the other thing with the transfer window is, of course, if we're bringing players in, foreign players, we've already got an issue with our foreign quota. We're 2 down on the European quota because we didn't have 4 academy trained players at the club for 3 years that have been with the club 3 years to qualify for the Europa League. You have to have 4 of them. Now on the B list, it's different. You've got to have academy players that have been on the list for 2 years. And you can have as many as you like on the B list for 2 years, right? This is why Gray and Bergvall couldn't go on the B list because they hadn't been with their academy for 2 years. There's lots of silly rules out there, right?
Yeah.
I hope it doesn't come and bite us in Europe, but yeah, bring a foreign in because then you can kick Werner out, right? Or you could get rid of Basuma or Charlison. Because they're taking up Europa League spots. I mean, who else, foreigner in that team, would you want to get rid of? I don't think you would. So
Odebert's not likely to come back anytime soon, so he could be dropped out of that list as well.
Well, that's right.
Well, we've been here before. Do you remember when Poch had to leave one fight out of the Europa League squad because we were full? And that was when we had the required amount of foreign. You're allowed 17. You got 8 academies in 17, but Fife would have been the 18th one, so he didn't get in the Europa League squad. So it must be hard for a player to take that. I mean,
we clearly need to do a Chelsea and have 40 players and have 2 completely different teams. For
this is part of the reason that caused the problem. When you get rid of Højbjerg, you might have used this season, or players like that, right? But then it depended whether we want to keep Skip or Winks. Because they would have counted as homegrown, But, Dorgu, I'd like Vaskovic back. I don't know if that can be done. I don't know if he's got to stay at Westerlo with him and Devine are doing well, Alfie Devine. I don't know. If you wanted to bring a midfielder back who's doing well, scored his first goal for Notts County, bring back George Abbott because he can play in the back line and in the midfield. And he was captain, and also he is a sort of leader type player. Most people won't have heard of him though.
I always thought he was a right back, but you're saying he's not. He's a midfield player.
Scored a nice goal yesterday.
Yeah, no, he's captain. He may have played at right back for them, but he's a midfield player and usually the anchor man and all, the sort of holding midfield type. I hate this term number 6. I think it's too one-dimensional. Right?
I'm not a number, a free man.
I'm holding players and attacking midfield and central midfielders.
So, I mean, I put the names forward, Adrian. I'll bring Paul in a second.
Mm.
I mean, would you bring Godfrey in from Atalanta?
No.
I just thought I'd prove my point. I'll go now.
You can stay. You can stay.
Yeah, but I can stay. Oh, fuck, it was the ghost of Christmas past.
Right. No, I wouldn't. I mean, look, he looked a good player at Norwich before he got the move to Everton. He looked
Take
a good
that banner
player.
down.
And no. How old's Chilwell now? And what's his injury situation? Jonathan David, he's at Lille with Gomez, who we've been linked with. I like Gomez's long passing range, I really do. But the midfield, you've got to revamp it, you know. That's why I think Basuma's got to go. He's just not good enough. It's not that he's not skillful enough. He's not good enough. I don't think he's good enough for any system, to be honest with you, because he just doesn't look consistent enough to me. Good player. I'm not a fan, but others will say, yeah, we love him. Get rid of Maddison. They won't say it's on it. But Maddison gives you something special on his day. He gives you an option, doesn't he, to bring on or even start in certain games. You know, teams.
When is he having that day, mate? When is he having it?
Well, this is it. Unless you get rid of both of them. But if you're going to bring in and he's homegrown as well, Maddison, isn't he? He's part of it. So yeah, that's why Austin got that 5-6 year contract as goalkeeper, because he's homegrown. So yeah, we've still got a disjointed squad. I mean, the balance isn't there. We need 2 holding midfield players, not 1. You can't have 1 holding mid player play all year round. We need 2 if we need to use them. I mean, I would definitely go for Dorgu, because I've had no rumours in papers. I mean, people talk about Robinson at Fulham. Yeah, good going forward, good player. We're not paying that sort of money in January.
I was going to say, what I'm trying to do is keep it realistic as to the players that might be available. Never mind about whether we'll pay the money for them. Whether the
Dorgu would be available. With Johnny Cardoso, the difference with that is, I think that because with the Lo Celso deal, we can buy him for like 25 million euros, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's in the summer. If we want him in January, we got to pay more. But if they do sell him, we get a percentage of the sell-on fee. It's really weird, that Lo Celso deal. It's quite weird, right? But I think my understanding is that if we want him in January and other clubs are looking at him, if we want him in January, we've then got to do the normal transfer procedure rather than wait until the summer. As far as I know, unless there's another hidden detail.
There's surely a clause in that contract that says they can't sell him to another club.
Or we get first dibs.
Yeah,
right,
but it's not going to be. It surely wouldn't be. Levy's too smart for this, I think. To say, yeah, okay, you can sell him in the summer. You can have we'll give you him for 25 million in the summer, but if you sell him in January, we get first dibs. But the price is 50 million. That's not the way Levy. Levy wouldn't do that.
No, realistically, go for Dorgu. Get him now. This recruitment team should have been working on loads of areas of the team.
Right? I didn't think Levy was involved in the transfers any longer.
Well, they get you've got the group. You've got Scott Manning. He's the chief footballing officer, right? Then you've got Rob McKenzie's chief scout. Then you've got Max Leggett, who we got off of Bayern Munich. He's first team scout. Then you've got Ange and Johan Lang. So that's 5. I don't know if there's any more involved. Oh, there is someone in charge of strategy. Can't remember his name. So that'd be about 6. So they all sit down and decide. I mean, every football club's a club signing. You know, it's just that the manager agrees, don't it? The manager or coach agrees to them. They'll have their list, their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all these positions. Can we get him? No. And as Ian alluded to earlier, you're in January. You've got a month to do deals. This is why they should be working their socks off beforehand. No club's going to sell you a player if they're struggling with relegation or if they've got a chance of winning a trophy at home or abroad. They're not going to do it. The only chance you've got of getting a player if a club's really that skint, or they got 3 players in a position, and that's the position you're looking for. And I haven't seen too many rumours about left backs. And I hope Paratici's working behind the scenes because he's back in the game.
He definitely is. He's been
He was at the stadium.
Someone said he was at the game today.
Yeah.
The dog was at the game.
So can I just say, by what you just said there, Adrian, that if we're a team that's close to relegation or in cup competitions, you're not selling.
Yeah.
We're not going to see anyone go out of the door, are we? But the players that we should bring in,
I think
I would bring in Jordan Pickford from Everton for a start, for leadership. I would bring in Sergio Ramos, just because
Are you winding me up?
because he gets red cards and he wouldn't have to play every game. I'd bring in Tyler Dibbling from Southampton. He's
I like him. Yeah, but he's one for the future as well.
Yeah, I'd bring in Ebenezer Scrooge Eze from Crystal Palace. A deal that should have happened in the summer.
Okay, you've just spent £200 million.
Yeah,
so he won't give you.
No, we could sell 2 or 3 of ours can go the other way.
Look, I
How
can
many
see
of these players are realistically going to be
there's a player at Como. I don't know if you've heard of him. It would be straight into the
Well, we were linked with Skriniar and Muani at PSG not giving game time. You could get them on loans or whatever loans to buy. I think if we're going to bring in the most we've brought in, we've done all right in January the past. We brought in Dele Alli, Mora, Porro, Van der Ven,
Van der Vaart.
We got in
and Mark's gone. I was going to get
Kulu.
gone
We brought
backstage.
Kulu
I
in, and we brought Bentancur in. So I know we've got danger. We've done all right.
Come back. He's gone. Okay, I was actually going to ask Mark. I think he just wanted to prove a point, but
yeah, to me,
yeah.
I didn't know who he was.
I have the buttons. I have control.
Yeah,
bring back Dele Alli is all I say.
Yeah. Okay, you need to lay off that.
I think
he's got 5 years left in him.
Dorgu would be good, but even if we've only got 30 million to spend, right? You can still put 10 mil down on 3 players. It doesn't have to be a colossal amount of money, and you can do what Marseille are doing with Højbjerg. We'll have to take them on loan because we spent what we can spend under financial fair play. And we'll pay the money in the summer. So Spurs can do the same sort. There are loads of options, and these guys are experienced in this recruitment.
Yeah. My gut is that we're going to find out an awful lot about the club, and again, we're going to find out a lot about how ambitious our chairman actually is. By how much he's prepared to back this manager, or is he prepared to let another one sink?
Well, about that transfer market earlier. And under this year, we spent 95 million already, right? This year, so I don't know the breakdown when the signings are going because they're going into this financial report or in last year's financial report. I don't know, but so. You'd think if we on average spent about 120 million, there'd be about 30 mil, 40 mil. I think the earlier argument of getting wages off the bill, that was important. That was important to free up even more money. Gives you more money to spend under financial fair play, all depending. But we know the accounts are a year behind. It's all very complex, and a lot of fans are bored with it, and I understand it. But I think we'll get at least 2 in. If we get more than 2 in, they're going to be loans. We'll do some loan deals, which. We'll see. We've got players coming back from injury, so...
Yeah, well, that's what... whoops, sorry, not that one. I don't know how far Reguilon's... Vicario, we know, is long-term. Audebert, we know, is long-term. But I don't know how long Romero and Van der Ven are from being at least back in training. That'll
I think they said the first week of January they'll be sort of getting back to being ready
next year.
Who knows? To be honest, with our medical history, could be that they're back soon. Then then they're back injured again. But I definitely do think we need to not panic in this window and stick. It's obviously really crap, the injury crisis at the moment and everything that's going on. But we definitely need to not panic, and we need to make sure if we are bringing players in on permanent, that we're bringing in the players that we would get in on permanent, irrespective of the situation that we're in at the moment. But irrespective of moving players in or out, we should have signed an extra 2 players in the summer. So there's 2 players. That shouldn't matter what we do with the rest of the squad now. I think obviously we do need to be considerate of homegrown and English and stuff like that because of the rules and bits. But there is some sensible things we can do. But at the same time, it is a little bit frustrating that we have to talk about sensible transfers we can do, and making sure we only spend a little bit of money, and make, like when what would be nice is like, right, we want that player.
Yeah.
Let's spend the money to go and get him. I know obviously that's difficult to do in January, but we don't really even do it in the summer at the moment and stuff as well, which is frustrating.
Tom, what annoys
at left back
me?
at left back at the moment we're down to Dorrington and Mason King. They can both. Mason King is a left back though, but yeah,
I think a left back, or at least a left-sided defender who can play left back would be definitely beneficial. Like, you know, so we've got Vuskovic and Ashley Phillips, but have either of them got experience of playing on the left side of a two pairing? So we seem to have a lot of right-sided.
Dorrington's played left back for the under-21s. He prefers his right foot, but he's good. He's 2 foot. I think he's better on the ball than Ashley Phillips. Although Ashley Phillips is an inch taller at 6'4" on a unit. So Dorrington's 6'3", and Vuskovic, he looks like he's a skyscraper. Like when I look at him, like,
but Dorrington has been here for the whole of December and hasn't played. He's played.
But he had an ACL injury last season, towards the end of last season, and he's only just been getting back to
which is exactly what I said, that he wouldn't play today because of those reasons. But it's still like.
Tom,
he came on in Europe, though.
I want to bring you all in on a point that Tom made earlier, and that is we should have bought an extra couple of players in the summer.
Yeah.
Now, I'd like to tell you, it's all very well, Tom, you're being wise after the event. But we all said it. All of us on every stream said we needed at least probably one combative midfield, as a minimum, a combative midfield player and someone for that left side of defence. All of us on streams that we were on, you know, in July and August.
You could go for Jonathan Tar's out of contract at the end of this season. I mean, like, and he's 29-30, German captain, centre back, good. Right, his sidekick next to him, or liked him before. If you wanted a left-sided centre back who can play there and at left back, Piero Hincapi. Hincapi's left-footed, right? But like you're talking 60 mil probably, you know. And there was another one.
So there's a Japanese guy in the Ikutora, who he can play centre back, he can play left back, and he has played in midfield as well. And he's 23, 24 years old, and
is he only that young?
Yeah, he's not
last year.
Yeah, he's not particularly. I thought at one point he was going to be signed. I thought he was signed to Bayern, but I think he's still at Borussia Mönchengladbach, so obviously he didn't. But like, he's a player that we could look at. You know, there is players there, but again, if you're buying that player, you need to be buying a player that you want for the foreseeable. And I think if you're worried about the centre backs and it blocking the route for the youngsters, which I don't think really should be much of a concern, because again, if you're good enough, you'll get the minutes. Then left back is definitely the position we need to focus on, because with Davis has proved that he can play centre back, and actually now Archie Gray has proved that he can play centre back. Although I'd much rather see Archie Gray in midfield. This thing we're talking about getting I think we definitely should get another midfielder, a number 6 or a defensive combative midfielder. But I also think you've got one there already in Archie Gray that we're just not utilising in that position because he's having to be used elsewhere.
Well, with regard to the midfielders, Fratese's not getting no time at Juve, and
it's funny, isn't it? Because Fratese starts almost every single game for Italy, and yet doesn't really play many games for Inter, which is just bizarre. Could you imagine an England like?
And I'm not sure what's that with Edison. Edison, is it Atlanta? Is he?
I think Atalanta. Edison's at. I think the problem with Atalanta,
they're challenging.
But Atalanta will sell, and they've proven Atalanta. In fact, all Italian clubs will sell. Italian clubs live for making profit on their players. So if you offer the right money, then you can you can get players from them. But I mean, it's going to be harder. I mean, if you're looking at players, looking at players from Atalanta is not a bad idea, because Gasperini plays very similar to how Ange plays, which is why I was looking at their centre backs and stuff not so long ago. And the Swedish guy would be a good pickup. But then if you're looking at that, then you can also look, Edison would be a great buy, but then why not look towards like Adamola, Lookman and players like that? If you're looking for a Son replacement, Lookman would be, and he's in the last 6 months of his contract as well, I
Is
believe.
he as well? Paul,
What about Grealish or Rashford
No, not for me.
on a loan?
No.
I'd rather have Vlahovic, Dusan Vlahovic from Juventus. Rather have him. But I mean, like,
I would happily actually have Rashford and Grealish on the right terms. To be honest, I think Pep has absolutely killed Jack Grealish as a player. Whereas I feel like Ange would maybe give him more of the license to be how he was at
Villa.
he went for the pace of Doku over Grealish, didn't he?
Yeah, but again, you'll be looking at most of your budget, or I mean, unless you do Grealish on a loan for the rest of the year. But he's getting games now. I don't know. I would like us to go. They're the sort of players that we should maybe be looking at. Rashford, I think Rashford could be.
But Grealish is 30 now, Tom. 30.
Yeah. He's not a young player.
He's a no-no. So we're not getting him.
Rashford, I think, could be a world beater on his day. Like, he can literally win games on his own. But how long has that been since he's really showed that form regularly? And also, like, is a player like that coming to London where there's, I don't know, where, he's had, problems with nights out and stuff like that in the past in United, coming near London, is that really necessarily a good thing? I don't know.
But when you look at all our wingers, when we've got them back, Son's still there. You've got Werner if he doesn't go. You've got Mikey Moore coming aside. You've got Heung-min Hook. You've got Solomon. You've got Odegaard. That's 6 wingers without Richarlison who can play on the wing. That's 7.
6.
For me,
30 odd games this season, haven't we?
Yeah.
Paul, you got any thoughts on this? You've sitting
I
there
think we've
listening
still got
patiently.
another 30 to 35 games to play this season.
Yeah.
I would do with as many loan deals as allowed. Huh? Well, we should beat Tamworth in the cup, which would mean another game in the FA Cup.
I mean, Werner's a loan to buy. I mean, if we could go and get loan to buy on,
I don't want to buy Werner. Thank you. I want to say bye-bye, Werner.
I have to tell you, it'll be bye-bye Ange if we go out the cup to Tamworth. I don't think you could survive that.
No, even I would lose faith.
Yeah, I think I would have to not be on streams for a month, and so people forget who I am and that I was a big Ange supporter. All right, Ed, look, has anyone got anything? We've done 2 hours is past my bedtime as well, so unless anybody has got anything mind-shattering to say.
Yeah, we're not going to lose again this year. That's good news.
Yeah.
And the only way is up.
I'm going to have a glass of wine in the back room. If
wee whiskey. Been watching. I've watched it before, but Mandy has an Anatomy of a Scandal, which I've seen before. So I think I'll do that and catch up with Match of the Day tomorrow.
I'll plug New Year's Eve show Tuesday. We always do regular shows on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays at 8 o'clock UK time, GMT. And we're doing a show. We did one the same Tuesday on Christmas Eve. It went really well, actually. I mean, New Year's Eve might be busy. I know Ian will be out clubbing probably with. Oh,
absolutely. Till probably 4 or 5 in the morning.
He'll be out clubbing, so like he probably won't turn up. But we're just, me and Mark, going to do it and see who shows, because there are people out there that don't do nothing on these days and whatever. So we'll be doing a show. We haven't sorted out any guests yet. We might just throw the link out in like Sean's WhatsApp or something like that and see anyone in there. Might not be anyone in there, right? They might all be clubbing, right? So and anyway out there, if you like our shows, please give them a thumbs up.
Yeah,
post a comment,
please hit the like.
Hit the likes, helps the algorithm. We are a fledgling group. We're 6 months old. We're doing well, but and I'm expecting a second till June when we're a year old. I'm expecting to do a lot better. We'll do a lot better.
With Sean has been putting a story about tonight that the ex-Dortmund manager Tasic, he's agreed to come to Tottenham.
Absolute bollocks.
That is bollocks as well.
Turkish media. We're talking Turkish media.
More like to end up at Haringey Borough. than Tottenham.
Turkish media is about as much use an Astra on a motorbike. Honestly, I mean, like
Also,
Yeah.
if you thought football under Conte and Mourinho was boring, Terzic would be absolutely dire.
he would be turgid.
It would.
Turgid.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Anyway,
Entertainment. We've had 29 goals this month at the Lane. Okay, we've only scored maybe less than half of those, but 13 against 16. We're getting a day's extra rest because Newcastle play tomorrow, so we should be okay for the weekend. We're nearer the top than we are the bottom, so we've still got the 4th best goal difference in the league with the 4th top team in London. The only way is up, onwards and upwards.
Well, look, we're in free cup competitions and we've got half a season of football playing in the league.
It's fantastic. This is so much better than what we were used to under the previous Stellini and Conte and Mourinho and all that crap that we put up with for 5 years. No, thank you. Levy in, Enoch in, and in. Thank you for having me.
That might boost the algorithm, so we might get some comments now.
Yeah, you might get some for the comments.
And you might get some of the dog's abuse I've received over, my time.
Oh, I'm used to it. I deal with it very well. There's a block button.
I ignore it. No, I just ignore it.
All right, guys.
With the Levy subject, I'm neither in nor out at this present moment.
Just talk to Brad, your mate.
Yeah, I'd like a new owner. I'd just like an owner that can maximise what we're allowed to spend, under the rules, whatever the rules are, if they re-clarify them. That's what I want. I mean, don't expect any more. If you can't spend because you break the rules, that's fine, right? But spend what we can. And we have failed better in the recruitment, department recently, because a lot of these kids are showing promise. Bergvall as well. I've been impressed with him recently. He was poor. Like in one game I see him, and the next 2 he sort of stepped up.
He's great.
Yeah,
Bergvall and Gray are the signings of the season.
If you want me to be selfish on the whole Levy in, Levy out, what I want is for a chairman, an owner to care more about the football side than the business side.
Cultural change, yes.
A cultural change is a good description.
But I also acknowledge that actually without the business side running in the way it does, we wouldn't be near the position where we are. So that is really important. But what I would like, if I'm being really selfish, a chairman to come in who really cares about winning and charge me a little bit less to go and watch the games. So that would be great.
No, that genie's out of the bottle. Not going to happen.
I was just going to say.
Unless we get ready.
The lightning is out of the bottle, and you can't put it back in. That's the thing.
No.
All right. Okay.
Paul, thank you for coming on.
Paul,
thank you for having me.
Happy New Year, Paul. Happy New Year, Tom.
Happy New Year,
and your family, all your friends.
Happy New Year.
Maybe
Happy
see you
New
a
Year
little
to all of you out there. Spurs
Well,
fans.
but Paul's going to rewatch later. Yeah, great, Paul. That's brilliant. Right, so I need to find the outro music, and I'll see you guys in the back room in a minute or so.
I'll see you in the green room.